Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stationery Junkie. For this video, I'm going to walk you through my Sterling Ink N2 Horizontal Compact Planner that I use as a health journal. I have also discussed this planner in a previous video where I talked about my 2024 planner stack. So if you haven't had the opportunity to watch that, I will link it up in the cards and also in the description box. But for this video, I will be walking you through the detailed things about this planner. What are the stuff that I am keeping track of and how I use it on a daily basis. So this is going to be a very chatty video. So if you want to put me in the background, please feel free to do so. But if you want to watch in more detail, thanks for being here. Let's get to it. Some of the stuff that I have put together when I set up this planner remains the same in terms of deco. I'm still using the same Moterm cover for this one. And when I open this book, it's basically the same. I did not change any of the decorations here. It's still the same in terms of stickers, some of the stamps that I use, the deco here in the beginning part of the planner, and the goals remain the same. But before I go through all of the different criteria that I keep track of, I just wanted to give you a background why I am really loving this planner in particular and tracking all of the stuff related to my health. It was sometime in late 2022 that I have a need to take surgery or to get surgery because I have been suffering from chronic back pain for over 10 years now. I think it's not just 10 years, but around 15 years or so, wherein the pain in my back is really intense, that it has impacted my quality of life. And it has gotten so not good in late 2022 that I had the need to take surgery because I had degenerative disc disease. Some of the fluid in that disc has already leaked out and is impinging on my nerve. So there were times wherein the pain was like number 10 or number 11, and it was just so intense that I could not sit, stand, lie down, or do anything because of the intense pain. So I'm really just not in a good space back then, and I felt really depressed along that, and I was also very stressed out of work. So there were a lot of factors that contributed to this need to take surgery. So when I took that sometime around the tail end of that year, I made a decision to really take care of myself and to make sure that I am able to manage the pain that I have. Because with the chronic pain that I mentioned I had degenerative disc disease. It's something that comes with age. So it's something that is inevitable for a lot of us. And it's something that cannot be cured because as you age, your discs tend to age as well, and it loses fluid over time. So the pain is going to be there. So it's just a matter of managing pain for me. And this is the reason why I'm keeping track of these 4 criteria that you're seeing here in my goals breakdown. So in terms of weight, I mentioned that I want to reach a certain weight level. I have always been overweight my entire life. And I learned that when you have degenerative disc disease or you have chronic back pain, weight tends to be a huge impact on that, because if you don't have good core muscles, then there's no support for your lumbar spine or your spine for that matter. And as you gain weight, that doesn't really promote good back health. And a lot of the things that contribute to my lower back pain was previously I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was highly stressed with the work that I do. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of things that I needed to do. And coming up with that stress in the work environment, I didn't have enough sleep. So I learned as I was trying to research what goals that I need to put up in my health journal, that I really need to take better care of myself in terms of sleep, because that's the only way your body can recuperate from the physical stress of life. And if you are not getting enough sleep, then that's going to impact your mood. That's going to impact the way you eat and feel about yourself. So I don't want to be sounding too preachy here, but there's a lot of correlations about getting enough rest for your body to heal itself and recuperate and get you in a better mood every day. So that's the reason why I have this criteria here in my health planner. My goal is to have 7 hours of sleep every day, or at least on an average 7 hours of sleep every week. Also, I'm keeping track of my pain. As I mentioned, with the chronic back pain, I need to be more mindful. I need to keep track of the level of pain that I'm feeling, because a lot of these criteria are related to each other. And when it comes to mental health, I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but your mental health has significant impact on your physical well-being. I learned that if you are highly stressed, highly anxious, a lot of it manifests through physical things in your body, whether it's back pain, headaches. A lot of your mental health, your moods, your disposition contributes to a lot of these things, and all of these things are connected, I feel. That's why I want to keep track of all of these things. So these are everything that has to do with my goals for this year. My goal is to get these into a very good level. I have very specific goals to achieve by the end of the year for me to say that I was really successful in doing this. And I'm not just keeping track of these things, I am also changing my lifestyle. So this is not just something that is going to get done at the end of 2024. It is actually a lifestyle change that I want to do. And I'm already reaping the benefits of such lifestyle change. So it makes sense for me to continue doing this moving forward. So after the goal breakdown, we go to the quarterlies. So I wanted to give you a rundown what happened during Q1. As you can see, the quarterly section of Sterling Inc. is laid out in a way where in the left side you have your priorities section, and it's broken down to the first 3 months of the quarter. The right side is like a habit tracker layout wherein you have the first 3 months of the year, and you can do this however you like. A lot of people have been using this as a habit tracker, and I've also done the same. So how did I use this section is that looking at my yearly goals, I took a look at what I need to accomplish on a quarterly basis. And that was my priority here at the beginning part. I highlighted a key thing to accomplish in the first quarter, which is to establish health habits, because this is the year that I am fully committing to tracking my health. I have done this as well last 2023, but I only started in the second half of 2023. So for this year, I wanted to first use Q1 as a trial run and see if I can establish these healthy habits so that I can calibrate for second quarter if I'm going to be doing the same thing, if I'm going to be keeping track of the same things. So really just establishing those health habits at the beginning, because I want to give myself some time to get acclimated to all of these things. This is basically a new thing for me to like really 100% commit to keeping track of my health. So having said that, establishing health habits, my goals, I put this weight, sleep, pain, and mental health. Same thing that I have here in the yearly tracker, but keeping track of my quarterly goals, I put it here. And then when it comes to the breakdown of every month, I have here the same criteria that I'm keeping track this year. And I have these numbers because I make use of a couple of digital applications. I make use of a smartwatch. This is not an Apple Watch, but if you are making use of a smartwatch, I like this device because it helps me keep track of my daily steps and my sleep score. So since those things are part of the stuff that I keep track of, it helps me a lot to make sure that I have the data to assess whether I am actually on track of my goals. So I do a before and after column. The before column for January, I took this data based on the stuff that I have kept track of in 2023. As I mentioned, I did keep track of certain criteria of my health, particularly weight, also my steps and my sleep. So I do have the data from last year, although it's only just half the year. But even so, I use that as a benchmark for the beginning of January. And then after, I use those apps and take note of the numbers at the end of January or at the end of the month to see if there is some significant change. So for example, at the beginning of January, I was at 71.9 kilograms. At the end of January, I was at 69. Sleep, I had an average sleep score of 82 thanks to my smartwatch. And then at the end of January, I was at an 84 average sleep score. So it did get better. And in terms of pain, I also make use of a pain tracker. So I had this data from last year, use it again this year as a benchmark. And then I found out that at the end of January, my pain has decreased. This is average pain score. And mental health, I do not have the numbers because I wasn't tracking my mood last year. So I kept it blank here. And then now I keep track of it, so I make note of the average score. I will tell you later where I got this score because I keep it here on my tracker, this tracker in particular. So now that you have an idea of all of these numbers, I also highlight the certain sections that have significantly had some changes, positive changes, and I highlight them just to make sure that, okay, for January, I did a pretty good job. I was on track of the stuff that I need to keep track of. Same thing with February. I use the data from the after portion, put it in the before column in February and track what were the end numbers based on my trackers and my apps and put it here, highlight them, and it gives me an idea how bad or how good did I do for that month. So you can see January and February were pretty much good, but when it came to March, I only had a good track of my weight. I started 71.9 kilos and now I'm down to 67.6 kilos. That's a huge deal for me. But in terms of the sleep is not so bad. It just stayed the same. But with pain and mental health, they actually went up. So I'm going to go to the next part of the quarterly tracker, which is the habit tracker. So these are the stuff that I keep track of on a daily basis that also influences all of these criteria that I mentioned. So as you know, I keep track of 10K steps if I do that every day, 7 hours of sleep every day, if I stop eating after 6 p.m., and if I had walked 2 flights of stairs or 2 floors in the office, because I spend most of my time in the office. So I want to make sure I put in movement there as well. If you have a desk job, it's quite difficult to keep moving, right? I don't have a standing desk, so I need to make sure that I keep on walking. I don't sit for long hours. And one thing that I wanted to do is to put some movement in my daily routine at the office. So I made it a point to go 2 flights of stairs to go to the restroom every time. So I keep track and make sure that I do it 5 times in a day. And of course, I want to have a regular intake of water. So I have a tumbler in the office. I fill it with water and I want to make sure that I drink at least 3 to 4 times at the very least. And self-care, as I mentioned in my previous video, it has something to do with physical self-care or emotional self-care. So for example, if I do some home care, facials or whatever, if I get a massage, if I had a conversation with friends and family to improve my mental health, because I live overseas, I am not close to my family, proximity wise. So sometimes I will get depressed, I'm homesick. So I want to make sure that I schedule in or at least talk to some friends and family back home to stabilize my mental health and keep me grounded. So these are the things that I keep track of and I mark it on a daily basis. And I kept track of all of these for 3 months. And I'm really proud of myself for having done so. And I also track how many times that I have done this for the entire month. So there are some numbers here. So I just want to make sure that these are on an increasing basis. And if it's not increasing, what are the things that I did not do? What are the contributing factors that made me not do my routine? And for Q2, I'm also doing the same, tracking the same things here. And I changed the signifiers here, and I have yet to put in my table from Q1, put it in here, but I will do so by the end of April. That's coming up very soon. Moving over to the monthlies, I have pre-decorated this. So I have pre-decorated the entire month from January to December, so I don't have to think about how to prettify this portion of the planner. But how I'm using my monthlies is that this is where I keep track of my weight here at the bottom, and I also keep track of the number of steps that I take every day. So I color code this in such a way that it's red when it's not in the prescribed number or it's not within the target goal, and blue if it did go down or it did reach the intended goal, and black if it just stayed the same. So for example, this is January. So looking at my weight here, this is a red mark. So if I go to the last weight that I kept track of in December, that's 71.1. I recorded this at 71.9, so it did go up. So I kept it at the red mark. And then the next day when I weighed in, it's at 71. So I lost some weight. So I kept it as a blue mark. And the numbers that you're seeing here above the weight is my step count. So thanks to my smartwatch, I'm able to keep track of my steps every day. It's quite interesting to see like the ebbs and flows of my weight loss journey. For some people, they do not weigh in every day. But for me, I want to weigh myself every day. The reason being is that I want to keep track of whether the stuff that I've eaten the previous day is actually contributing to my weight gain. And I told you before that I have this habit that I want to keep wherein I stop eating at 6. So if I ate something after 6, what did I eat? And did that affect my weight when I weigh in the next day? So it's different strokes for different folks. So if you want to weigh yourself every day, that's fine. If you don't want to weigh yourself every day, that's also fine. But my process is just this, and I find that it's really helpful for me to be more cognizant of what I eat and the time that I eat and the frequency that I eat. I just want to make sure that I'm on track. So I'm also keeping track of my monthly cycles. So this pink highlight that you're seeing by the dates are actually my cycle period, and it has been consistent all throughout, like 5 days every month. So it's good to keep track of it. And I also keep track of some symptoms. So for example, in January, I put some symptoms here, physical symptoms rather. So whether I have PMS, I have headaches, I'm depressed, or I'm feeling anxious, I take note of that here so that I have a record of my physical pains or other physical manifestations, so that when I am at the doctor's, I have something of record to show them. I also use the monthly to keep track of some doctor's appointments for me and my husband. So for February, this is the spread. It's looking pretty good in terms of steps and weight. I'm seeing a lot of blues, meaning I've hit the mark in terms of my daily steps and my daily weigh-in rather. So for March, this is like the not so good part of Q1, wherein I was fluctuating in terms of weight gain and steps. Yes, because I'm seeing some reds here in terms of the steps. So I also keep track of my average sleep score every week, and the same color coordination that I'm doing here. So for the month of March, I was off on week 11 and week 13. So knowing these things, that my average sleep score is not really very good during this month, is keeping me highly aware that I need to do better the following month in terms of sleep. So doing this on a daily basis is helping me a lot in being mindful and keeping it at the top of my mind that, hey, I need to sleep earlier, sleep better, and also make sure that the quality of sleep that I had is really good. And this is April. April is not doing so well in terms of steps and weight. I am dreading to see what my month-end results are going to be, but it is what it is. So I just need to be honest with myself. So whether it's going up or going down, I will keep note of it and then do better the next month. So that's the beauty of daily tracking and monthly tracking. You are able to have detailed information at the same time, macro level perspective on how you're doing with your health tracking, and then the following month it's like a clean slate that you can restart and do better. Now we come to the weekly section of this planner. So the layout, if you are not aware or if you haven't had the opportunity to use a Sterling ink, the horizontal layout of a Sterling ink common planner is very similar to the Hobonichi weeks, wherein the left side is like your weekly overview and on the right side is blank grid. But the beauty of the Sterling ink common planner is that everything is gridded. So here's how I've been using the weekly section. I divide the left side to 2 columns with the left side a little smaller. This is where I keep track of any medicine or vitamins that I drink. And I keep track of my meals on the other column. On the right side, I have divided this as well to 2 columns for body talks and emotional check. Body talks, as the name implies, it is anything and everything to do with my physical manifestations of pain or anything else. I keep track of it here. And on the right-hand column, emotional check has something to do with my mood or feelings for that matter. So it's good to keep track of these things. And I will show you later how are these things that I keep track of related in terms of the numerical value that I mentioned before in my goal tracker. So it's just good to take note of everything that I am putting in my body and also the state of my mental health. So over the course of the months, it has changed in such a way that it started off with very little decor, and then I have been progressing to putting in a bit more. I like looking at my spreads with some decor because it makes me feel inspired and it makes me feel happy just seeing the pops of colors and designs and how I've been using it over the course of the weeks and months. There is no rhyme or reason to how I decorate my weekly section. I just try to fill in some of the white space and I like how it looks. It looks really well lived. So sometimes you will see on this side where I am supposed to keep track of my medicine, vitamins, there's nothing because I don't. I don't use or drink any medicine. I try to be very cognizant of the medicine that I take. For example, painkillers. I don't want to be drinking too much because I don't want to be too dependent on painkillers to the point that I become resistant to it. And I also don't want to damage my kidneys and my liver. So unless it's otherwise needed or recommended by the doctor, I do not drink any medicine. Vitamins also not so much. I try to get the vitamins that I need from the food that I eat. Yeah, that's the way I have been decorating it. And I wanted to just give a quick shout out to this Vietnamese stationery store called TU. That's TEAYOU. They have this really cute rolls of PET tape that are already pre-cut. To me, that's like a game changer. I have always been adamant about buying PET tapes because some of them have very intricate designs and it's so difficult to cut them piece by piece. But this store or this stationery maker have their PET tapes already kiss cut rather, so that you can just take them and peel them off and stick them into your planner. And I love that. And look at all the cute cats. The designs are so cute. I'm really loving their designs, and it looks a little messy when you look at it from a bird's eye view perspective, but I like decorating my weekly planner like this, or a weekly section of my planner like this. So I usually just pre-decorate it before I put in the record of what I eat and stuff like that. Here we come to the last section of the planner, which are the blank grid pages. So what I do in this section is that I have another kind of tracker. I mentioned in my previous video that I got this idea from Danielle from My Dandelion Diaries. She keeps track of certain criteria of her health in a graph format, and she also keeps track of the stuff that she eats. So for this section, I always keep these trackers and set them up every beginning of the month, wherein I keep track of my sleep, pain, and mood. And using some of the apps from my smartwatch or from the app itself from the phone, I keep track of my sleep. So that one is based on my smartwatch, how many hours that I sleep. So the goal is every day is 7. So anything below that is not ideal. Anything above that is the best. And of course, the mood, the red mark that you're seeing here is mood. So I try, at the end of the day, I try to assess the day, whether it's a good or a bad one. The highest number meaning it's a really good day. The lowest meaning it's crap. So far, I'm thankful that I haven't had anything below 2, meaning that day has been really horrible. So I'm grateful for that. I did have a number 3 in January. Interesting. And then pain, I try to also assess at the end of the day what my pain level is. So if it's not just my back, but any kind of pain whatsoever. So whether it's a headache, a PMS cramp, my lower back. I used to have plantar fasciitis for a good number of months. And that's also the reason why I want to keep track of my weight, because plantar fasciitis, weight also has something to do with it. So I'm really happy that it has gone better. And right now I'm not feeling a lot of pain with my feet, and I'm really grateful for that. It's not cool to be always in constant pain. So yeah, this is how I keep track of that. And then for my daily tracking of the food that I eat, I list down all of the kinds of food like beef, pork, rice, veggies, and stuff, and I mark them on a daily basis. So from breakfast to dinner, that's the reason why in the weekly section, I keep track of the specific food that I eat and keep track of them here as well. And I also count them at the end of the month, like how many times have I drank coffee. So I drink coffee on a daily basis, if you cannot tell. By keeping track of all of these, I'm able to make some connections in terms of weight gain or loss. So for example, so in January, I ate rice 10 times, bread 23 times. Let's go over February. So I ate bread 25 times versus 23 times last January. So it has gone up. Rice, not so much. I only ate 14 times. Rice 10 times in January. So it has been going up, right? So if you are keeping track of the food that you eat, you're able to spot these trends. And if you want to correlate that with your weight gain, at least for me, I noticed that my weight tracking has been fluctuating, and I also see some correlation with the pain. So whenever I am, for example, in a very bad mood, my mood has been really off on this particular date on February 5, and my pain is going up. So whenever I notice that my mood is going down, the pain is going up, and I try to see, okay, on 5 and 6, what have I been eating, right? So you're able to establish those correlations. And for me, when I keep track of the frequency of me eating rice or bread, because I just learned that bread, or like white bread and rice, or that kind of carbohydrates, are inflammatory. I now understand why my pain sometimes would flare up on specific days. It's because I have been eating bread so much, too much rather. So I had this epiphany that I need to cut back on eating bread and processed food in terms of pastries and sweets and stuff like that, processed sugar. I tend to calibrate what I eat. So for example, in March, in terms of rice, I have eaten 13, bread 24. So I noticed that it has been going up. So looking at my March, my pain and my mood is horrible. And also my sleep has dipped so much. So look, actually the bad thing happened in March, wherein my pain is on an upward trend and my mood is on a downward trend. So looking at the very low dips in my mood and looking at the escalation of my pain, all of these are related. And the food that I eat, like how frequent I've been eating bread, these inflammatory types of food, I realized that I need to cut back on these things. So when April rolled by, my signifiers are quite different. So looking at my April tracking here, you're seeing that my mood is actually on an upward trend. There are some things that have dipped very dramatically. But in terms of my pain, look at it. I have more days wherein I have no pain at all. And there are some days wherein it just shoots up. And the reason why, for example, this one on April 11 was so up here is because of my PMS. So the cramps. And sometimes I would also have some moments wherein my back pain is flaring up. So, but generally speaking, my April tracking is a lot better than March, which is really horrible in terms of the dips in the peaks rather. So that is my key learning, and having this kind of data is helping me to understand what I need to cut back on, what I need to stop eating, what do I need to do to better my pain and my mood, and also keeping track of my sleeping patterns in terms of the number of hours that I sleep. I understand that for April, I think I'm doing a lot better. I've been hitting my 7-hour goal of sleep quite well, except for a couple of days, but that's fine. So I'm excited to keep tally of these things at the end of April to see if I had done better compared to March. So aside from keeping track of all of these things in a graph, I also journal a little bit in the notes section. I journal stuff that is health related. For example, I would journal after I visit the doctor to take note of what has been my prognosis, what did the doctor recommend for me to do, and some of my thoughts that went along, and some of the thoughts that have been going on in my head when I had the consultation with my doctor. So I don't journal here every day. Only when I feel the need to think about my health, I would write it here. So that's the thing that I've been using the notes section for, and I'm glad that this is just a compact, so I'm not pressured to do a lot of things in the notes section. One thing that I did differently this time is I did a Q2 self-care bingo, wherein I listed down some of the things that I think would be a good thing to do self-care wise. So that has something to do with physical and mental self-care. So I did write down certain things like meditation, doing some spa treatment, whether in a salon or at home, also spending time with my husband, also sleeping more in the weekend, video chatting with friends and family and stuff like that. So this is gonna span for the entire Q2. So the hope is that I'm able to fill out all of these spaces, making sure that I am able to do most of them in Q2. And I'm really excited that I thought about doing this. I actually got this idea from someone who does bullet journaling. I will link her Instagram at the description so that you can also check out her bullet journal designs and ideas. I thought that it was a really good idea to have a self-care bingo. And that is the complete walkthrough of my health planner. I'm really enjoying my time in this book. And I mentioned in my previous video that I find this planner to be the most enjoyable and the most fun time that I'm keeping track of in any of the planners that I have this year. I hope you were able to pick up a couple of things from this video, and I appreciate you taking your time to be with me and to listen to what I have to say, how to keep up with this planner and the whys of stuff, and keeping track of yourself and your body and your mental health. It's always important, especially given with the changes that are happening in the world. I hope that you are also able to think of yourself, because you're not able to care for other people if you are not taking care of yourself. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content, please subscribe and like this video. Thank you again for watching.